Timian. How do you cut cords and ties with a former lover?
It can be a very difficult thing to move on from relationships, and quite often it's easy for one partner and not easy for the other. And in the work that I do, I deal with a lot of people who have been left, and for them they don't have the closure. So what is the difference? Why is it that the one who is left is the one that suffers, and the one who does the leaving generally suffers less? And this is because it's about choice. The one who does the leaving has chosen to leave, and the one who is left is in reaction to his choice. So you find yourself in the position where someone has chosen to leave you, then your best advice is to choose yourself now what it is you want, because otherwise you remain in reaction to this other person's choice. And once you make a choice yourself, then you are back in action in your life instead of remaining in reaction to what happened in his life. It can become obsessive as well, and each person must be responsible, if they don't want to suffer, for really being honest and seeing when their thinking has become obsessive. When thinking becomes obsessive, it's no longer really about what you're thinking about. It's more to do with your attachment and your craving inside yourself. In the same way that grief, when someone dies, is not actually to do with them, but it's to do with your relationship to them. And in fact, the grief stops you really seeing where they're going. It's true that in the same way that obsessive thinking about ending of relationships and about that person stops you moving forward, and it's not really about the relationship or them, it's about you. And we need to see that, because it can become obsessive, it can become habitual, so that you always start your day thinking about how it couldn't be, how it could have been, and how it isn't. And this sets up a sense immediately of a kind of beingness which can be self-fulfilling, that things don't work out, there's something wrong with me, I'm unlovable, my life's not good. And that kind of beingness first thing in the morning, as a habitual thing, or coming out of a failed relationship, then that starts to show up as how your life is, because there isn't a fixed way that your life is. So it's important to have closure. How do you have closure in a relationship? In order to have closure, proper closure in a relationship, you don't actually need the input of the other person. If that person might have died, person might have just walked off, but you can still have good closure. And the way to get good closure is to take 100% responsibility for your experience in that relationship. Oh, you go, but he betrayed me, he went off with my best friend. Well, it was because of who you were being that he was that gave you how you got him. Who you were being that he was gave you how you got him. And how you got him was that he betrayed you. Somewhere in there you had a blind spot that almost invited him and gave him subtle permissions to do what he did. Sometimes jealousy can do that. You can be in a relationship with somebody who has not the slightest intention of betraying you in any way. And because you're jealous, that jealousy starts to create some kind of ambience within which it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in the next thing he has betrayed you. So who you're being that he is gives you how you get him. Not everybody gets him that way. Who you were being that the relationship was gave you how you got it. How you got the relationship was entirely different to how he got the relationship, because who he was being the relationship was different. You may never know how he got the relationship. What's really important is how you got the relationship. And can you have closure? Can you take 100% responsibility? When the relationship initially ends, then you enroll your friends, you say, oh look, he's so bad, he did this, he did that, he did this, he did that, he's so bad, and you create a narrative or a story which paints you as the victim and the hard done by one and leaves him at fault. The second stage, but there's no closure in that. The second stage is where you go, okay, I now in hindsight see that who I was being that he was gave me how I got him. And I had withdrawn this, I wasn't doing that, I was becoming a little bit like this, I wasn't in a space where he could do that anymore, I let him be like this, I didn't respond to that. And you start to see how you created this beingness which gave you the version of him that you got. Now he also has to do that for himself. And it's not about blame, it's about taking responsibility, 100% responsibility for your dream. So doing these things can bring about swift closure for a relationship. And really it's hard. Some of it takes time. But time doesn't actually heal, but the healing happens within time. And sometimes, it takes a while to get over it, but you can. And then you can move on, and you'll find that your next relationship will have the benefit of what you've learnt by taking 100% responsibility from the previous one. And so it's a difficult time when you're broken-hearted, but all the people whose hearts were broken, they recovered, and their hearts were able to love more once they got back into the business of loving after their heart was broken. So keep going, process what comes up, use it as a learning experience, become strong, and become strong in love, and the next phase of your loving relationship life will open up. So good luck.